Hello there, Nerd Soup fans. We are here, the Nerd Soup crew. It's the Big Four, the original Big Four, like the Fantastic. They're coming to Marvel. Here we're reviewing Avengers Infinity War. It's the biggest movie of the summer, 10 years in the making, the culmination of the MCU so far. And here we have a panel of people that are big Marvel fans, so it's a movie we've all been waiting for. And I'll introduce them, starting with Manny, the Turtle, your big return. How you doing, Turtle?
Doing great. How about you?
Doing, okay.
Good to hear.
Not great. Might need therapy. And also Marissa here. Marissa making her return. It's been a while.
Yeah, because, school, not fun.
It's a shame because you're everybody's favorite.
Yep, as we all know.
And of course we have Aaron. Just can't get rid of him.
Nope, you're stuck with me.
Yeah.
Where's Teddy?
I'll make a call to Petco, see if I can get a return. And I guess we'll just start with our general thoughts of the movie. And just to warn you guys, this is a spoiler review. And you can also listen to this review on iTunes at the Nerd Soup Podcast and SoundCloud. You can catch us there. So we'll just start with general thoughts. Spoiler review, Spider-Man's dead. Bucky's dead. Black Panther's dead. There's a lot of dead people in this movie. Vision's dead. It's cool to say it, to have the freedom. But we'll start with you, Marissa. What did you think of the most hyped Marvel movie of all time?
I really enjoyed it. I know there was a lot of worries because it's basically every single character in the MCU all in one movie. But I thought the transitions between the scenes was very nice. I enjoyed how all the characters came together in the different teams. I knew obviously they weren't all of them weren't going to be in one place together. That's kind of unrealistic to expect. What we got, I felt was really good, better than I expected, honestly.
So it basically met your expectations and...
Yeah, I mean, for a movie that was 10 years in the making, I feel like we got a good movie. This is exactly what I wanted from it.
Yeah. Aaron, what did you think?
I love this movie, too. I thought it was everything I expected and more. I had a couple problems. I think on your regular review, you touched on some of the things that I might have a problem with it. But at the end of the day, I know it's kind of cheating to say this. That doesn't bother it for me. I don't really pay attention to that because... just what we got. Thanos might be easily the best villain in the MCU. Very close. Killmonger is a close second, but that was amazing. I love how they put the focus on Thanos. I think a lot of people who aren't really up to date with the Marvel movies might seem congested to them, and the transitions might not be as smooth as it is for us because we know the characters, we know their backstories, we know their solo movies. But for Marvel fans, I think this is exactly what they expected. Take notes, Ryan Johnson.
First one to mention The Last Jedi. I was like, who's going to be the first one? There's still a couple other things I have in my mind of who's going to be the first to mention it. But Manny, what did you think about this movie?
I also enjoyed it. Not much to say that they didn't. Thanos was everything I wanted him to be. He was straight to business, no joking around like Ultron was. But
Bo said that if he made a joke, he was leaving the theater.
No jokes.
Well, yeah, I mean, when that's the guy I think of when I talk about it. I think Ultron is still a good villain, just mostly because James Spader's voiceover work in that movie is just unbelievable. The guy's got a ridiculous voice. But Josh Brolin, too. Josh Brolin, I thought the way he brought that character to life, but that's a good point. Thanos wasn't there to mess around. He had conviction. He had a goal. He had his heart set on one thing. And I think that's what made him even scarier because... he wasn't trying to kill the Avengers. He wasn't trying to defeat them. He was trying to do one thing, to wipe out half the universe.
He just didn't care if they were in his way or not.
Right. It wasn't... he killed Loki, spoiler, in the beginning, because Loki betrayed him. And
that surprised me, actually. I knew from the second Thor Ragnarok ended that something big was going to happen to what was left of Asgard. I'm surprised they actually went through with it, though. They really got rid of everyone right from the beginning.
That opening was great, too. It set off the tone. It showed you what Thanos was going to be doing for the entire movie.
It was serious, which for a Marvel movie, they're not really very serious if Guardians 2 has anything to say about it.
Marvel grew a pretty large pair for this movie.
Well, even the first line, which could be seen as a joke, it was a joke more in line with the actual scene when Thor's like, oh, you talk too much. It reminded me of the back and forth that Poe and Kylo Ren had, and it was like, who talks first? You talk first? His entrance, to reference Star Wars again, reminded me of Darth Vader in A New Hope. When he's behind the door and the smoke rises and then he comes from behind the shadows and he's such a commanding presence, and the music. That's what I felt with Thanos. That first scene when Ebony Maw is walking and passing through all the dead bodies and it pans to Loki and then it pans to Thanos. You're thinking, this guy just fucking decimated the Asgardian refugees. He means business.
Yo, when he started piecing up Hulk, that shit was fucking... he was rocking his fucking body.
He had Hulk shook for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Hulk didn't want any peace after catching that smoke. He was like, nope.
He didn't want any piece of anybody, not even the little soldiers he had.
Well, I think he knew. He was like, oh, this is pointless. Like Hulk knew that. And I like that too, because Mark Ruffalo has said the Hulk arc over the next 3 movies is essentially what would have been the Hulk solo movie if they had the rights to the character. But it's interesting to see, just to jump ahead, that conflict between the Hulk and Banner, that they are 2 distinct personalities at this point.
Think they ever split?
It's happened in the comics. A lot of people thought it was going to happen in Thor Ragnarok as well. I don't know, maybe.
I was a little disappointed that there was no Hulk, but...
Especially because there was that really awesome scene in the trailer where they're all like squatting up in the forest in Wakanda. I was waiting for it the second we got to Wakanda, and it didn't happen. And I'm not necessarily upset about it, but I just wish it had been there.
I mean, if Banner would have let the guy stab him through the chest, the Hulk would have came out.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen when I first saw it. I thought he was going to run up on Thanos, and Thanos was just going to like bitch slap him or something, and he was going to come back as
that first scene, though, Thanos with the hand-to-hand combat.
Not Thanos. Thanos' son.
Yeah, but that introduction, the first scene on the Asgard refugee ship, Heimdall dies in his last...
What happened to Valkyrie? She must have gotten smoked.
I read that they said Valkyrie and Korg, they were on an escape pod.
Okay. That
Thor had sent them away.
Because I felt like if she died there, they would have acknowledged it somehow.
Yeah, I don't think that's a death off screen, because she's like a great character, like from the Thor movie, Ragnarok, so I don't think you do that off screen.
Korg, too. Can't kill him off screen.
Yeah, and Meek.
Well, I mean, half the universe, so you think Meek's probably out.
Yeah, that
it's
is
a shame.
true.
He just got freed from prison, too.
I thought that they had confirmed Valkyrie for this movie. I mean, you could have put her with Thor, but Thor was so good with the Guardians anyway.
There's already so many characters. I mean, to start taking all the supporting roles from different movies, I like the characters they showed in it.
What did you guys think of Thanos' Black Order?
I thought they were great.
Squidward, man, he was
He was really good.
You talk about not taking anything, like, he probably could have beat the Avengers.
He could have been a main villain for like a Doctor Strange movie. That's why I was surprised when they killed him off in that scene. But that character, what did you think about the decision to make them all CGI?
I thought, I don't know, I liked it.
None of them were, I think
they weren't bad CGI.
Who
not
played
at
the
all.
woman who played his daughter?
Proxima Midnight?
Yeah, I think she was the worst done.
I forget her name, the actress's name.
I think it's because she had hair.
I think her
hair.
CGI was the worst, but it still wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it wasn't. There was, when they meet at Wakanda.
Because she's the only one that kind of had human features to her, so it's more noticeable. The other ones were kind of disgruntled, messed up faces and more alien-like.
Thanos looked fantastic, too.
The CGI for Thanos.
And considering, how close we got to his face and just him in general, he could be the protagonist of this movie. And I thought his CGI was great.
Yeah, the scenes where he's crying and stuff, it looks...
It's Josh Brolin. It's just Josh Brolin's facial expressions. And that's what you get when you do a motion capture performance. I thought, even though I didn't think the Black Order CGI was that bad, I thought that Proxima Midnight and her husband, that they could have just been actors. And I think it came down to it costs less to animate these characters.
I mean, and it's the right choice. If you had a budget, you had to make sure Thanos looked perfect before you even consider doing anything else to anyone else.
Yeah, it seemed almost like all the CGI budget they looked okay. I mean, they look fine for the movie. The only Proxima Midnight did take me out of it a couple of times. I thought she'd look great in a video game.
Yeah.
But
she did look like a video game character.
Thanos, I always say, it's like, do you think if you were in his presence, could you reach out and touch him? I thought Thanos, his skin, his facial features, because I'll be the first one to mention it, Steppenwolf in the DC. Even though I don't think Steppenwolf looked that bad, his face never moved when he talked. And you guys made the point that his facial expressions for Thanos, when you would get those close-ups, it did look like a living being.
You could literally see tears rolling down his face.
There's a lot of detail, too. Didn't he have some kind of scar?
Oh, the scene, too, where he's like, all that for a drop of blood.
Yeah.
You stole that from LeBron.
That was a great fucking tweet by that guy. Then the movie jumps to New York, and I really enjoyed the back and forth between Doctor Strange and Iron Man, because you could tell right off the bat that these are two big egos. They're not going to get along.
They kind of replaced Hulk with Silver Surfer from the Infinity Gauntlet comic.
Oh, yeah, they did. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm the best.
Do you own it?
No.
Okay.
Borrowed it from Teddy.
Oh, I was going to say, no, just try and borrow it from Ted. Seems interesting.
Yeah, I thought, for me, Doctor Strange, besides Thor, Doctor Strange is one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
When he fucking cocks his hands back and, this fucking magic starts rolling, I get fucking pumped. I didn't really like Doctor Strange was fine, But in this movie, I feel like was gravitated towards him every time he was on the screen.
Yeah, we got to look at his powers.
Yeah, to skip ahead to the battle on Titan, the things that he was doing when he turned into like 17 fucking different Doctor Stranges, I lost my mind. Yeah, strange eye. Right. When all those arms came out, Teddy was next to me, and he's like, let's fucking get it.
I heard that like 5 times throughout the movie, and I wasn't even sitting next to him. You were in the middle of us, and every time something cool would happen, like, let's fucking go.
But even in that battle in New York, they did him and his Asian friend, I don't know his name.
Wong.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty simple. But when they...
It's the actor's name, too.
They shoot the thing, they do the whole portal, they shoot it back at him, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Him teleporting Bruce Banner over to the park or whatever, like 5 feet away.
Right. And, when Tony Stark's like, what is your job again? He's like, protecting your reality, douchebag. What did you guys think about the relationship between Stark and Strange?
It was good. I like how it was kind of a little contentious at first, but then, you see how it plays out throughout the whole movie, where Tony makes a sacrifice to try to save Doctor Strange, and he kind of repays the favor. Even though I think Doctor Strange saw that, like, that's the only way to, when he said he had the 14,605,000, if I nailed that would be amazing, future realities, and there's only one time they won. I think he saw that in the one time they won, he gave the time stone to Thanos, so that's why he made the decision to save Tony. But I loved it. It was 2 great characters. They kind of have that same like stubborn charisma about them, and I think Benedict Cumberbatch probably, and Robert Downey Jr. probably were the 2 best performances out of the Avengers in that movie.
I love.
You seem very unsure of yourself when you were saying that.
I messed up a couple words.
I love Doctor Strange way more in this movie than I did in his solo movie. Like what Tilda Swinton was doing in the Doctor Strange movie, all that crazy stuff with actual like she pulls the ground from somewhere else, and then they're like walking up, but it's like basically changing the orientation. When he was doing all that stuff against Thanos, and then Thanos still clapped him, I was like, oh my god.
This guy literally broke the mirror dimension on his ass.
He did. He took the mirror dimension and just threw it right back in his face. But that was my favorite fight, the Thanos and Doctor Strange, because it was a great magic battle. It was who can be the cleverest, and it turned out to be Thanos.
So Wong never decided to come back and help. He decided.
I don't think he could. Like, what was he supposed to do?
He could have.
He's supposed to
tried.
protect
well, his
the
job
sanctum.
at that point, is to protect the sanctum, keep the barrier up,
Okay.
which obviously Thanos just cracked anyway. The first battle in New York, I really enjoyed it. To see Iron Man with the nanotech suit, the bleeding edge armor.
When he literally just like pulled on his tracksuit and then it like morphed to him, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
One of the best suit up scenes for Iron Man. I don't think it's better.
Glasses.
Yeah, the kids in front of us got so hyped. Well, the kids in front of me. But yeah, that was a really cool battle. And this is what I love about the MCU, is that it is all connected. And there's a battle happening in New York. So yeah, Spider-Man shows up. And he has that great first line. He's like, hey, what's this guy's problem, Mr. Stark?
He was on a field trip from the MoMA, like that he was coming back from the MoMA.
Yeah.
Spider-Man is one of my favorites too. I love his little quips during the battle scenes. And that was great. Seeing just Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange just go at it with the sons of Thanos. It's incredible. And right from the get-go, it sets the tone for this movie, because, I mean, in the middle, there's kind of hits a lull, but right in the beginning, it sets you up. You get a great action sequence, and it sets up, I mean, what's the guy's name? Squidward?
Ebony Maw.
Yeah, so
Get lost, Squidward.
It sets up Squidward as like a formidable foe, not just Thanos they have to worry about. These guys can fucking bring it too.
Yeah.
I like that they lean into the fact that Spider-Man is a kid. 'Cause I feel like in other movies they would just ignore like the wild age difference, but you actually feel it, and I really enjoyed that.
Well, it helps when the actor's not 30.
True.
It really does. What is he now? Tom Holland's 20 years old. So
Yeah, but he looks
I think
like
he's like 22.
Yeah.
He can pass his high schooler.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, he could do.
It sounds
I
like
mean,
a
he
high
was
schooler,
playing
too.
a 15-year-old in the first Homecoming movie, so.
Yeah, and you said once that his voice gets higher when he does his American accent anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
I was rewatching Homecoming the other day, and compared to the original Spider-Man movies, where everybody is literally in like their 30s, walking around high school, like, "Hey Parker, I'm gonna beat you up."
Joe
man."
Manganiello.
Yeah, Joe Manganiello's Flash. Yeah, he does feel like a kid, and the scene where he's trying to save Doctor Strange from Ebony Maw, and he ends up on the spaceship and he's losing air and he gets knocked out, and the fucking Iron Spider suit comes
How sick
from all the
were
way
those
upstate.
legs though? His metal spider legs. I love that.
Thought it could have been used a little more, but it was cool.
I thought he was setting a nuke up there.
That's what I thought too. I thought it was a bomb, and I was like, wait, is like Peter just gonna hit the bomb in space? And then it turns out to be the Iron Spider suit.
I feel like a bomb would have been more helpful, no? Instead of...
Well, you don't want to kill Peter and Strange.
I mean, he told him to let go. He was going to catch him. I don't know, man.
It was a cool way to catch him with the suit. And once again, he's a kid, so Stark he sends him home. He tries to, but
He tells him in Homecoming, he's like, if anything happened to you or if you died, that's on me. Which, considering what happens to him at the end of the movie, tragic.
well, even when they reunite on the ship, when Tony Stark realizes that Peter Parker is there, and he's like, well, I'm here because of you. And Tony Stark's like, what? Did you really just say that? It's like, I can't have this on my conscience. The first scene in space that we see, well, the second scene when Thor crashes on the Guardian ship. How do you guys think the Guardians were handled overall in this movie?
I think it was great because they felt like the Guardians. It kind of cut to like a Guardians movie. And I guess for some people that can seem like a little odd. There's a change in tone. But for me, like, we already know the Guardians. We know it, like, they can't just change to fit the movie. They just have to be what they were established in the MCU from Guardians 1 and 2. So I enjoyed it. It was a nice little change of pace. And I thought it was great just to see Thor with the Guardians. And it's like Thor like cameoing in a Guardians movie.
I saw that meme. It was Roy Williams when he's walking into the locker room and he's really excited. And the caption was when Thor tries to get the Guardians to join the Avengers, but ends up joining the Guardians instead. He fits in perfectly, especially what they've been doing in Ragnarok.
Yeah, can we talk about how Taika Wakandan? What the fuck is it?
Taika Waititi.
Taika
Waititi.
Wakanda.
Yeah, whatever his name is. I say it right like half the time. So you've saved Thor. Thor sucked for the first for Thor 1, Thor 2, and Avengers. He was alright in Avengers, but from Ragnarok and this movie, he's my favorite Avenger
He
now.
was hilarious.
He has a personality now. Before he
He's
was
the
just,
best.
oh, I'm Thor. I'm the god of thunder.
Yeah, he was. They had that
Spot
whole
on.
Shakespearean feel to the
Yeah.
Norse mythology, and yeah, I agree with that. He made Thor what really Superman was supposed to be for the Justice League. He's supposed to be a guy who just loves being a hero, and he's a little goofy. He's an all-powerful, goofy god. That's what.
And he's
Superman
like a
is.
little full of himself, which I love. And,
Yeah.
Because he's like, have fun, like, or goodbye, morons. Like,
Yeah.
I think he was straight hitting on Gamora right in front of
Well, I think he like genuinely thought they were called morons.
oh yeah.
He's like, that's probably their code name. That's interesting. And the way his interactions with Rocket, the back and forth that they had, great
Rabbit.
pairing. Sweet Rabbit.
And I love the whole like back in the Star-Lord, how he was just so rattled from Thor. Like,
That's not a
You
man.
may not take that
Wait.
part, sir.
What did Drax say? Oh, he's not a dude. He's a man.
He's
the
a
God
man.
man.
He's
The,
a
the pirate
pirate.
angel.
Said it's like a space pirate and an angel had a baby.
How come Drax is also never serious anymore?
He's become a caricature of himself.
it kind of got annoying in Guardians too, but I kind of liked it in this one.
That's
for some
because
reason.
it was very like little doses in
Yeah.
this movie. It wasn't like the entire movie was Drax being an idiot. Because I thought it was hilarious when he was just eating those nuts
Oh, that's
really
one
slowly.
of the funniest scenes of the movie.
And he's like, you guys can't see me. I'm moving so slowly.
How long have you been there? An hour.
An hour. So I mastered the ability of moving so incredibly slow that I'm naked, invisible
But I
to
do
the
think
human
one
eye.
of the drawbacks to that is that in the scene where they see what they think is Thanos and Drax is trying to like avenge his wife and daughter, he's not serious enough for that. To me, at least.
Kind of a callback from Guardians 1 when he does basically the same thing when he sees Ronan. He risks everyone around him to fight Ronan and gets mopped up.
Yeah, there were some decisions from the Guardians that have been very contentious among the fandom. That's what the Guardians are. They just kind of wing it.
Yeah.
They're not one for plans. Or when Tony Stark, when they're on
He even
Titan, and
says
they're-
it, yeah.
when they're trying to make their plan, and Drax is yawning, and Mantis is like, "We take asses and kick names." I think that's a good point because in this movie he's actually doing stuff. He's actually fighting against Thanos. He has a motivation. In Guardians 2, he literally doesn't do anything.
There's that one scene in the beginning, and we don't even see him fighting. We see Baby Groot trying to not get blown up or whatever it is he's doing during that scene.
It's when he's like hanging out of the back of the ship and he's trying to destroy the last sovereign ship. Other than that, he flies up in space and goes, my nipples.
That's funny though.
That is funny. Well, the humor is always a contentious point in Marvel movies because does it undermine the dramatic moments? What did you guys think about the humor overall in this
I
movie?
think generally they struck a good balance. There are only a few moments where it was serious and I thought they were doing something too soon with having a really funny moment. But I can't even think of anything specifically right now.
There's little quips like in the battle scenes and stuff like that, but nothing like too extreme, like Guardians 2 and
David Hasselhoff.
David Hasselhoff or something like that. Even, and I guess this fits into the next scene. Well, I guess the next I guess talking point was when Vision and Scarlet Witch. Like, they had good, like, emotional scenes, like dramatic moments in the movie as well that weren't breaking up with humor, or they kind of let that play out. And I thought that was one of the best scenes too, because it established that relationship between Scarlet Witch and Vision, which we got a little hints of in Age of Ultron and Civil War, but now we see that they're actually together.
You weren't a big fan of that, right, Marissa?
I didn't hate it. My only thing was I wish we had seen a little bit more of their relationship develop before this movie, because I felt like a lot of it was dedicated to, like, Scarlet Witch didn't want to kill Vision. And in the last scene when Thanos is literally rolling up on them and she's like, no, I won't kill you. I was like, come on. Like, you have to kill him.
Well, there's a lot of that in this
but
movie.
I felt it. Like, that last scene when she's trying to destroy the stone and Thanos is coming and it's just, like, it's really long and drawn out, but I liked it and I felt what they wanted me to feel at that moment. I think from beginning to end, by the end of the movie, I felt what they wanted me to feel for Scarlet Witch and Vision. I just wish that I had started the movie feeling that way, I guess.
I think one point is that the characters that didn't have their own solo movie, you kind of get that whole maybe thrown in rushed aspect to it. And like you said about the her not wanting to kill Vision, we get a lot of that in this movie. The whole theme of sacrificing one person for the greater good, and kind of whether or not to do that because they don't want to take Vision out. Star-Lord hesitates to shoot Gamora. There's a lot of that theme, I guess, plays out throughout the film, in which, do it, half the universe, one person.
Right, and Hulk made the point that Captain America had no choice when he sacrificed himself. Vision did. That there's more of Vision and Stark and Hulk. They're all combined.
Yeah, up until basically after Shuri tries to take out the stone from his forehead, but it doesn't work. I was on board with them not killing Vision, trying like different methods to get out the stone. But when Thanos is literally right there and they're having this like sort of drawn out moment arguing back and forth, I was like, you don't have time for this. Like, you literally don't have time. And then she did it and it ended up not even being worth anything in the end.
I would say two things to defend that. One, I don't know if they knew the whole scope of Thanos, how powerful this guy is. They're probably thinking, hey, we're the Avengers. We got Wakanda on our side. Let him come. We can probably hold him off. They don't know this guy's going to be bobbing and weaving, making people into like ghosts and putting them into rocks, disregarding them, throwing them away like ants.
But she was watching it happen as it was.
Well, yeah, at that point, she might have just wanted to yank
don't know
that.
the full scale
Before
of the
that,
Infinity Stones.
That's true. But like before they actually see Thanos doing what he's doing, I was totally on board with them. Like, let's find a different way to do this.
Because I was like, when they went to Wakanda, I'm like, why would Black Panther agree to that? Just have these people come to his homeland and basically ravage his city. But then you think, like, all right, he probably thinks, like, I got the Avengers, I got some of the fiercest warriors in the world with the best technology, we could probably take them.
Even Thor thought that. He was like, well, there are two stones on Earth, but they have the Avengers, they'll be fine.
Well, let's jump to...
Hold on, right before you do that. I just want to say when they take out, when Thanos takes out Vision's Infinity Stone and his eyes are blank, I just really liked how much he looked like Vision in the comics in that scene.
Yeah.
I just like that. I remember looking at it and literally thinking of the Tom King Vision run, and it was great.
Which is one of the best, and that's what they're getting at too. That he's basically Paul Bettany gets the chance to just be himself as Vision. Also,
Paul Bettany has like a weird looking face when he's a human.
Right, he looks like somebody that is an android trying to be human. But I did overall enjoy the relationship between Scarlet Witch. I do agree with the point that if their relationship had been more established in previous movies, that final moment when Thanos is coming for her, it would have been more emotional.
But I think it definitely did mean something at the end. Like, through just the course of the movie, like, I felt really sad when Scarlet Witch was, like, had to kill him. She had no choice.
I love Scarlet Witch. I think she's an awesome character.
She is. Especially, she's so powerful, too. I love when she finally comes back and she spinny
Oh, that was a great
thing,
move.
and she throws it.
And Okoye's like,
yeah,
she's
like,
not here the whole time.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I said that in the movie. It's like, oh yeah, they don't need help down there or anything.
Vision kind of got babied though this whole fucking movie. He gets stabbed right away, and then
well,
that
staff, his staff, I always forget his name. I think it's Corvus Glaive or whatever his name is.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That staff is extremely powerful. It's one of the most powerful weapons in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, but then Captain snatched that shit out of the fucking air.
Well, it's not about who can wield
Midnight's.
it. It's about who gets stabbed with it.
That wasn't Corvus. Cap didn't catch that. He caught Proxima Midnight's spear.
Right, yeah. But then whatever his name is, Glaive, his spear, was sucked back up into the wormhole because if he's holding it, he can't die. He's essentially immortal.
Oh.
So it's an extremely powerful weapon. Yeah, but, Vision, they have to scale back the powers for some of these guys with Vision because it's cool in Age of Ultron, you see him pick up the hammer, but then in Civil War, it's like, why didn't he just, like, grab them all by the collar? It's like, you're coming with me.
Oh, yeah, in the comics, there's no way Cap would have been able to catch that spear that Proxima Midnight threw at him.
Oh yeah, no way.
Cap's very overpowered in the movies, and I like it. I fuck with it.
I do want to bring up one point. Does anybody feel like Chris Evans was kind of sleepwalking through this one? He seemed very disinterested.
Well, I
mean,
feel like
he's a literal fugitive.
But even the way that he would deliver his lines, it's like he won't get the stone.
I feel like the Stark and Guardians Titan got more burned than the people in Wakanda.
Well, I didn't mind that Captain America, because I think out of all the Avengers, he got the least burn. But I didn't mind that because so many movies have already been focused on him.
Exactly.
Like Civil War is a Captain America Avenger movie. They based an Avenger movie on him. So I didn't mind that Captain America was kind of pushing this up. I'm talking about the actor.
Yeah.
Like, he seemed bored.
That scene when they're at the barrier talking to Proxima Midnight and the other person, that was a pretty weak delivery.
Yeah.
He said, well, you're not going to have it.
Yeah,
It's not
well,
happening, or whatever he said.
Yeah, you can't have it. He's like, oh, we can't let them get to Vision. And Chris Evans has been outspoken about, when my contract is done, I'm out of here. So I think he's already starting to check out.
They finished the Avengers 4, right? Like,
Yeah.
they filmed them at the same time. I think he's dying in the next one. It doesn't seem like he's coming back.
After this performance, I don't think they would even, if they said, hey, we'll keep him alive, I don't think he would want to do it.
But his introduction to the film, I thought was pretty cool, though.
That was a
hiding
great
behind the
scene.
train, and he's
Yeah.
chilling, and he catches that shit.
I liked also his costume is very obviously Captain America, but the star is ripped off. He's like spray painted something, I think, over the red, white, and blue. I
Yeah.
really like those touches.
He's nomad. He's just a man without a country at this point. And it's interesting, if you read the prequel comic up into the movie, they've been in like the Middle East fighting against ISIS, basically. And ISIS has been using Chitauri weaponry. So it's pretty cool. That'd be a nice little spin-off, you know? Like a movie before the Avengers Infinity War.
I think they got enough movies.
Ant-Man
planned.
and the Wasp.
They do, yeah. But I wanted to ask you guys about the relationship between Thanos and Gamora. I thought this was the best part of the movie.
Yeah, Thanos is the best part of the movie, and I give him that backstory where, especially because he was very human. He's not just some maniac alien that's sole purpose is to destroy the universe. He wants to impress the embodiment of death, like he is in the comics.
Do you like that change then?
Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
Also, I think in this Marvel universe, at least, having an embodiment of death be who Thanos wanted to impress, just introducing that concept altogether would have been kind of ridiculous.
Yo, I thought that was Red Skull though. When he first when he's going to get the Soul Stone and like the ghostly figure shows up, I'm like, oh, it's death.
When he pulls back his hood for like 2 seconds, I was like, oh my god, it's Darth Maul.
What happened to Red Skull at the end of the first Captain America? I don't remember.
Grabs the Tesseract and he just gets transported to Vormir. I guess. So I just want to take it back real quick to the scene when the Guardians are sent to nowhere, basically to defend the Reality Stone from Thanos getting it. This was a great scene too, because the relationship between Gamora and Thanos, Gamora kind of loves him still.
She was devastated after she thought she killed him.
Right, and she's trying to convince herself more than Thanos, I think, throughout the movie. Oh, I've never loved you. I hated my childhood. But she was hysterical after she killed Thanos. It wasn't like one tear. She had ugly crying face on. I was like, Zoe Saldana with ugly crying face? No!
I would have thought. Yeah, and you knew something was up right away when she was just beating the shit out of him.
Right away I knew it was the Reality Stone.
Yeah.
As soon as she stabbed him. I mean,
Got
it's
a little
not that
preview
hard.
to
When even Star-Lord was like, that was easy.
Yeah.
Staples.
Hit the button.
I just thought
Just
Thanos
said that.
was just going to get up. What?
He did kind of just say that. I have a theory that when I listen to the podcast and I hear Marissa repeat somebody, that she never listens to anybody's
It happens a lot.
What'd you say?
Or you think she's not listening like before, and we're just talking about what we're going to talk about like before the podcast starts, and then she picks up on something and says it before you actually can on the podcast. Game of Thrones preview part
That was so
I
funny.
remember that one.
part 2.
She stole like 3 of your things, and the first 2 you let it go by. That's good stuff.
I kind of wish that Star-Lord had killed Gamora when he had the chance.
The bubbles thing kind of was like
Why?
Why?
That was one of
Just
the
turn-
moments
just
where
turn-
I was like, okay.
turn the gun into dust. Don't make bubbles.
I think that was like almost Thanos' sixth sense of humor. It's like, oh, I'll just make it bubbles.
Yeah, it was a nice
Because that's
callback
what
later
people like,
when
right?
They have bubbles in space?
when Gamora tries to kill herself and her knife turns into bubbles. I thought it was a nice callback there. But I think it would have been really interesting to see how the movie would have went if Peter Quill like had to kill Gamora and he had to live with that for the rest of the movie.
It stinks because, oh, by the way, too, like when they first introduced the Guardians and it just says space on the screen.
That was so funny.
That was real funny. But yeah, I mean, I guess moving forward to that scene that Thanos and Gamora share right before he kills her for the Soul Stone, you could tell that they both...
Best scene of the movie for me.
Oh, yeah, and it adds so much of Thanos' character. That's what really builds him as this human character that actually thinks what he's doing is right. And he's willing to go to that extent because we see how much he loves her. He's able to do that to get what he wants. He's like, the whole time the Avengers are arguing whether or not they should sacrifice one person for the greater good, Thanos does it. He sacrifices the one person he loves for what he believes is the greater good. It's a nice contrast there.
And watching Gamora realize that, like, she hates him, or she's trying to convince herself that she hates him, the man who raised her, to realize that he really did love her the whole time. And he's still going to kill her anyway, I thought was really great.
It also seemed like Thanos was unhappy with his decision at the end. Like, he didn't seem satisfied with what he had done.
Right. Well, he described himself as a man that was almost burdened with purpose. That he was the man that had the strongest will to realize what needs to be done to set the universe right.
It's like, it's not even like he wanted to do it. It's like he had to.
I mean, honestly, Friday morning after I saw the movie, I was sitting in New York traffic. I'm like, I could use that Thanos.
Earth could use a Thanos treatment.
I can use a nice snap right now, as long as I'm okay.
3.5 billion? That's still a lot of people.
Yeah, but I can get to work a hell of a lot faster.
Well, the point that he made to Gamora when she's like, you slaughtered my planet, you killed half the people, and he's like, yeah, go back there now. It's a fucking paradise. Full bellies, they wake up to clear skies every day. You never had that. Do you see what I'm doing for the world? And Doctor Strange even says, well, look at you. Aren't you just such a prophet? But it's interesting to go into his backstory because he presented his solution to Titan and said, if we kill half the population, we'll be fine. And then you look what Titan has become, that's what really brings his point home for me. Because if you would have listened to Thanos, you'd still have half a planet. But like Captain America said, we don't trade in lives to make things better. That because your planet made mistakes, does that mean the whole universe is destined to make these mistakes? I don't know. Possibly some of them are, possibly some of them aren't. But that's the best part of Thanos, is that he's not doing this because he's evil. He's doing this because he thinks he's right. He has conviction, sympathetic motivations, like Killmonger, who to me was the best MCU villain up until this point. It's almost like they took the sinister charm and charisma of Loki, and then they took the sympathetic motivations of Killmonger and just combined it into one. So let's take the two best that we have and make one.
Yeah, especially I wanted to wait for a second viewing to kind of make where this movie stands in the MCU and as far as what I feel about it and the characters and especially Thanos, and it definitely held up the second time when I was viewing it. Just an incredible character. Like we said before, Josh Brolin, the motion capture, and you could just see the emotion on his face when he's going through those tough moments. You can see the hesitance in his eyes and his facial expressions. It's great.
I think on a second viewing, I don't know. The first time I watched it, I was so tense the whole time. I was like, who's going to die? Someone's going to die. How are they going to do it? So the second time around, I feel like you really get to appreciate like everything. Like when you see Thanos come to the decision to kill Gamora, like you said, you could see Josh Brolin's like acting on his face. He is clearly unhappy about that decision, but he still does it. And I don't know, like I really liked it.
Well, even when Doctor Strange asks him what he's going to do when he's done, he's like, "I'll sit back, watch the sunrise on a grateful universe." Really?
The fact that he thinks the universe will be grateful to him too is really interesting.
Yeah. And he does. He sees himself as a prophet. People say that the best villains are the ones who think they are right. I think he's still out of his mind. I mean, make no mistake about it. He is a madman. He has moments where they humanize him, but there's also moments where he chokes out people, like Loki. He just choked the fucking life out of him.
He didn't kill unnecessarily, I think. He only...
Right, when he even makes the point about how his genocide will be, it's dispassionate.
At random,
right.
But you see him basically reach his hand up, close it, and crush a moon. He could have done that to any one of the people that he were fighting.
He also
That's almost the scariest... Sorry, Manny, to cut you off. You've been speaking the whole time. You don't shut up.
Yeah, that's good.
It's almost scarier when somebody can kill you but just doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Because he will. He's so overwhelming, but, it's just, I don't need to kill you because you're just in my way. Just move. What are you going to say, man?
I was going to say Thanos.
And one more thing.
Thanos could have been worse. He could have wanted to, rule over the entire universe, but instead he just wants to sit back and do nothing afterwards.
What did you think about the change, Marissa, from the comics?
I mean,
do you think it worked better for this movie?
The fact that he's not trying to become the universe, because that's what he does in the comic. He's like, he becomes so powerful that death is like, I don't want you anymore. You're more powerful than me. I think that's what happens.
He became reality.
Which, I don't know. It's comics. It's a little ridiculous. But the fact that this was more grounded, also with the fact that I think the MCU in general, the characters are not as powered as they would be in the comics. I think it was just a good choice. Like, how could we sympathize with someone who's trying to become reality? Yes, he's a purple dude who they said looked like the Grimace. You guys said they humanized him, I guess. It's not like I could understand them, but like seeing where he was coming from, I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's the whole traffic scenario.
I was kind of on his side, honestly.
The people sitting behind us
Yeah,
in
there
the
are
movie
people
theater were totally on his side.
Those are people who are sitting by you.
Yeah, they were
They
behind
were
us
cheering
when-
for everything Thanos did.
when they
They were-
almost
They're
took
trying to
off the-
clap like when he got his gauntlet.
When they were almost took off the Infinity Gauntlet and he got it back, the guy behind him was like, let's go, Thanos.
There was one guy who was waving to every character when they were dying, when they were fading away at the end. He was like,
see ya.
he was waving.
I
at
would
them.
rather that than who sat by me. Fucking 3 kids behind me, little kids. Please don't bring your little kids who.
No, you can't say
Wait
that.
a couple weeks.
Control them. Yeah, that's true. Wait I'll give you that. Yeah. Come in like 2 weeks.
Every time it's like, Daddy, that's this? No, Daddy, was the Avengers okay? Daddy, is this happening? Very loud too. The kid didn't know his shit though. He called out Iron Spider. I'm like, okay, I see you.
I see you, boy.
Yeah.
Get him on the podcast.
And there were kids in front of me and kids on the right too. And they were all like making noise. And one time they were like kicking their feet on the ground. They were stomping. Very annoying.
Well, I think one of the most, well, I guess I won't phrase it.
I'm happy it was the second time I saw it. I would have turned around and be like, listen, you little monster.
What did you guys think about the Peter Dinklage's character?
The
Dieter.
guy sitting behind us was like, yo.
And he kept calling him Dieter Pinklage.
Dieter. Oh,
He's like, my man, Dieter.
God damn it.
I don't get it.
That was cool. It's flip the D and the P.
Oh,
Dieter Pinklage.
that's clever.
Is it? Is it? Not if any. Well, I guess
Not
if
really.
you didn't understand it,
Nah,
I guess it's not. I think it's funny when they approach him. They're like, "Oh, Peter, we have a dwarf role for you." He's like, "Oh my god!" But you're like 300 feet tall. Yes, finally.
Was he supposed to be like a character? I heard someone say like when you see his character in this movie, you'll know who it is right away. I had no idea who the fuck that was.
Yeah, it's also part of just Norse mythology. The dwarves make the weapons
What's-
for the gods.
Okay.
What's his character's name? Did they say? I could have swore I heard them say Sentry, which is the same guy from God of War.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's what they said.
that's why when I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, this is like God of War, the dwarves that follow you around and open up shops in the different realms." Like, "Oh, you need an upgrade on your on Mjolnir," you know.
Why is he so big? Like they call them dwarves, but
It's just their race of beings. That
I
they
didn't mind-
have the body of dwarves, but they're also giant.
Some people like hit me up on Twitter and said they kind of took him out of the movie, but
Oh, it definitely took me out of the movie.
yeah.
Because when
His
he first started
voice, the
speaking,
way he was, yeah.
when he first started speaking, I was like Tyrion, and then I felt like his voice got deeper later.
Right, he was. It didn't work for me.
I
But
didn't mind
it's not like a major. It's not like I hate this movie now. It was just a little goofy.
Yeah, but
A lot of people thought he was going to be. Remember in the beginning of Infinity Gauntlet where Adam Warlock's buddies, Pip the Troll?
Yeah.
Everybody thought he was going to be Pip the Troll. But obviously Adam Warlock is not in this movie. See, the biggest problem I had with the pacing, it's almost an unavoidable problem when you have a movie this big, is that you're going to have so many subplots. When they kept going back and forth between the Wakandan battle and Thor trying to get Stormbreaker, to me that it kept killing the momentum of the Wakandan battle.
Yeah.
That's
I
my
disagree,
biggest problem.
Actually, I didn't mind the cutting between it. I felt like the tension was sufficient between the two parts that it didn't drop anything
you're
for
wrong.
me.
Well, it was like with Thor, like you knew. with
I
Thor,
pass judgment on thee.
with Thor, it's like you know he's gonna get the weapon. Like they failed the first time, and they eventually. I hate when movies do that when it's so obvious. When you after like, oh, we gotta do this thing. Oh, we failed the first time, and then all right, let's try it again, and we get it this time. Like we know he's gonna get Stormbreaker, but
But when he gets the weapon,
that's my favorite part of the
that
whole
is
fucking
so
movie.
fucking cool, man.
That's the greatest
When
part.
that man came through with Rocket and fucking Groot, woo! That's the big three, man.
Yeah,
That is a
outfit.
Theater
big
went
shit.
crazy. Both times I went to theater went absolutely nuts. He's the best fucking cat. I love Thor now. He's the best.
He is good. And the smaller moments too, with the moment with Rocket when he's talking about how he has nothing left to lose. That was a great small moment. You know, Rocket's trying to be the captain. And to see him on Earth is just so funny.
That's weird. He just took his arm off and like his Groot is the handle now.
Oh, that's so cool. The Wakandan battle. What did you guys think overall of the Wakandan battle?
I thought it was great. It reminded me a little bit of Battle of the Bastards when I first watched it, when you see Cap fighting the one-on-one with all like the shit around him.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Remind-
chaos going around.
Yeah.
Everything's getting melded up. I liked the battle itself, but the circumstances surrounding it was kind of felt a little off for some reason. The threats just happened. Like they didn't build up like the danger of Wakanda, or like the people really didn't know what's going on. It felt kind of just like, all right, here they come and they're gonna fight Wakanda.
It was rushed.
Yeah,
It was just, but you don't have time to build that up.
exactly. Like I'm not gonna like say the movie stunk or the battle, because the battle when like shit was going down, it was great, but it kind of like everything around it just felt a little off. Like they didn't really know what was coming, and it should have been more built up. They should have been scared, like shitting themselves. They were kind of like, all right, let's fight Thanos.
It didn't feel like the end of the world.
No.
When Bucky says, I'm doing pretty good for the end of the world, it just kind of felt like, another day.
Did look great cinematically, though.
I just wish they would have, in terms of the cuts, that they wouldn't have been going back between Thor and the battle so much. Because as soon as the battle started, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be awesome. And then it cuts to Thor trying to get a giant axe.
I love, though, Black Panther and Captain America when they're all
when they were
rushing
booking
towards
it.
it. And they just fucking broke away.
Yeah. And we also see Hulk in the Hulkbuster suit. And what'd you guys think about that? Hulk wanting no piece of any of this movie.
It's weird, because, like, I don't know, I kind of want to see the Hulk, but I guess it's setting up something else, like you said, that the Hulk's arc going forward is going to be kind of like maybe a conflicted arc. But I don't know. Is he just embarrassed that he got beat up in Thanos in front of all his friends?
Oh, yeah. I think he's terrified of Thanos. He just wants no piece of that.
That wasn't even Thanos, though. That was,
Yeah, but he knew Thanos was coming.
Well, he did fight Thanos in the beginning, in the very first scene.
Well, yeah, and then he got his ass kicked, and he's like, nope.
Hulk got bodied by Thanos.
He really did.
I don't know. It's interesting. I would like to see how that plays out in the further movies before I make a comment, but
I do love Bruce Banner. Because it's this guy who can turn into this just incredibly powerful beast. And when he's Bruce Banner, he's like adorable. When Thor shows up, he's like, oh, you guys are screwed now.
I don't know. For me, fuck's his name? Why can't I think of it right
Ruffalo.
now? Yeah, Mark Ruffalo. Kind of looked like he had to take a dump for the entire first act of the movie.
Yeah.
Just like wincing. He's like, oh,
He couldn't get it up, man. It's a
Yeah.
problem for men his age.
How awkward it was between him and Nat.
Well, it's awkward when they're together.
Like
It's awkward when they're just
Yeah,
alone.
like
I
Age
didn't
of
like-
Ultron, it was very awkward too.
Yeah.
Me just watching that.
it just doesn't work.
I rewatched Age of Ultron recently, and I just I don't understand why they did that. Why they had to go the romance route between them. I feel like it didn't make any sense.
It was
didn't have
unnecessary.
payoff.
Yeah.
The best part about that whole romantic aspect is Thor's joke in Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, yeah.
So
when
sun's
he's-
getting real low.
Yeah.
The people sitting behind us in the theater said she only likes him when he's green.
That's a good joke. I'm going to say that. I edit that out and I'll come in with that joke. Yeah, but if anybody, I would have paired her up with Captain America rather than Hulk. I just feel like the two actors have better chemistry.
She already knows who the Winter Soldier is. In the comics, he's the one who taught her how to fight in the Red Room. So
Right.
that would have been interesting.
And their
If
relationship.
Hawkeye didn't have a secret family, her and Hawkeye, because they were, I don't forget if they were married, but they were together for a while. He's the reason that she defected from the Soviet Union, in the
Right.
comics at least.
And the movies too. And the Avengers, she says that to Loki.
What happened in Budapest?
And this was also, I do like how all the battles came together, but I enjoyed the battle on Titan more than I enjoy the battle in
I thought
Wakanda.
it was the end for Tony Stark when Thanos got him. I was like, one of the big, I went into this movie expecting Tony Stark or Captain America to die permanently, and I was convinced that was Tony's time, it was done for him.
I got surprisingly emotional because I thought Tony was good to die as well. And you think about how this universe has started with Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man. If this was the end to this character, it would be a very sad ending for him to die at the hands of the man who's been torturing him for 6 or 8 or 4 or 2 years. Who knows?
What timeline are we using?
The Kelvin timeline. Star Trek is in this universe. Yeah, but it was a great moment because Thanos knew who Tony Stark was, which is surprising. He's saying, yes, I'm not the only one who's burdened with great knowledge. They're essentially at the ends of this spectrum in terms of what's the solution for the universe to preserve itself.
And this is Tony's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that line was weak when he says, "You're my curse." I don't know. I wasn't feeling that line.
He was never the same after the Battle of New York. That he's had this PTSD. This thing has been living with him. Before that, there was never a worry on the guy's mind.
And the thing too about Thanos is just building his character. Just sudden little sentences help tell you who this guy is. He says he's almost sympathetic to Iron Man when he says, "I do hope they remember you."
Right.
He does respect him. He's like, I can respect what you're trying to do, but you're not gonna get in the way of what I'm doing. But he's he's sympathetic towards him, and it's not something you usually see from a big bad villain that's threatening the entire universe. And even before that too, I do like, just to go back a little, when Star-Lord, Mantis, and Drax fight Doctor Strange.
Oh, that was
Iron Man.
great. Yeah, that was.
That was
It
a nice
reminded me
little
of the
moment, too.
Avengers when Thor and Iron Man and Captain
Yeah.
America were fighting for the first time. And one of the funniest lines in the movie, "Where's Gamora? I'll do you one better. Who is Gamora? I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora?"
It got me thinking,
This guy Drax, man, he's a philosopher. It's Thanos and Drax.
And a little thing before that when they're trying to make the plan and he's not paying attention.
Oh, yeah. That was my favorite group out of all the groups.
And he's like, oh, is Footloose still the best movie of all time?
Never was.
My favorite is when Star-Lord is telling Tony Stark, he's like, okay, but how about we listen to my plan because it'll be better than yours. And Peter Parker is in the background looking like,
Oh, he loves it.
he was like, oh my God, like I'm watching this is happening. Like it's the end of the world, but he's like low-key, like really excited about
Well,
it.
I don't think Peter Parker really realized what was going on. I don't.
Definitely not.
Well, none of them did. I mean, Star-Lord is saying, hey, let's stop Thanos from getting the reality gem. Like they can do that. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy can beat
Stark
Thanos.
knew. Stark and Strange knew but yeah, that's a good point. None of them really knew what they were fighting. So it's almost like the Wakandan battle, it didn't feel like the end of the world because for them it wasn't. So
And
I
if
guess that's what they were
they've
going
beaten
for.
other threats, you could say, might seem similar to them at least. And Ultron almost destroyed the whole world. They managed to defeat Ultron. Like all these world-ending events, and they've come out on top every time. At least as superhero movies go, like this is the first one I went into in a long time thinking they're not going to be okay at the end.
You know when it got real for Spider-Man? When he was fucking dying.
Yeah.
Which was he's obviously coming back. He's fucking Spider-Man. But out of all of the fading away deaths that we got, you could really feel this is
He was
just
apologizing.
Yeah. And he's a scared kid. Yeah, I don't want to go. I don't want to die. All the other ones they were confused. Spider-Man knew what was happening. He almost seemed like he was phasing in and out. I thought they were teasing us and then he was just going to survive. But that was probably the saddest one.
I think the biggest talking point of this the Titan, not even just the Titan battle, like the movie in general, was Star-Lord pretty much killing him.
Oh, right, when they almost get the gauntlet off.
Yeah.
I wish Star-Lord had just shot him instead of just hitting him with the gun.
They should have done something differently. That was really weird.
Like, say he shoots him and maybe that's enough to wake Thanos up. Like, at least he's shooting him. Instead, he just literally hits him in the head with the gun and, like, knocks off Mantis.
He did the same thing he prevented Drax from doing when they first saw Thanos.
I just wish Star-Lord, instead of just hitting Thanos in the face with his gun, had at least shot him instead.
Yeah, go for the kill.
Well, I like that plan, too, the fact that they used Mantis to put him to sleep, because she was able to put Ego to sleep for a little bit, so you think they didn't have that weapon when they fought him in Infinity Gauntlet. So I thought it was... obviously, they're not going to get the fucking gauntlet off.
Oh,
no,
definitely
yeah,
not.
I wanted Thanos to basically win this movie because it sets up the next movie. Like, you want to see him with
But you
all-
think it was
all
a
the gems.
stupid way for them to foil that plan?
Yeah, it could have just been him snapping out of it, like him, Star-Lord yelling at him. I like that, like the emotion, like, where's Gamora, where's Gamora? And
Yeah,
him
I thought
being
that was a
angry.
great moment.
And him being angry, it's kind of like what happened before with Drax when he's trying to stop
Yeah.
him from. You gotta realize, you gotta keep your cool at that point, and at least shoot him in the head, like go for the kill, like try to end him. That makes more sense. You could have done that, and that could have woken him up, or just him yelling at him, like maybe Mantis couldn't hold him that much longer. He just broke out of it. You didn't need that because now it looks like makes Star-Lord look like a fucking incompetent fool,
Yeah,
which he kind of is. But in that situation, you got to understand what's going on and what the stakes are. And if Gamora does stay dead, the Guardians are in trouble. She like holds the whole group together. She's the only smart, reasonable one on the
I think
team.
she should stay dead. I feel like everybody who died before everybody was vanished,
Yeah, I think
that they
Yeah.
should stay
Same.
dead.
Which would make Guardians 3 really interesting. Like Peter Quill grieving.
Right, and
The
he's
team dispersed. I'm assuming that's what it is.
and James Gunn, for their comedy scenes, he wrote the dialogue. So they brought on James Gunn to make sure the Guardians
did it.
sounded like the Guardians.
Yeah, it felt.
And I thought his comedy was much better in this movie than it was in Volume 2. Because after rewatching Volume 2,
it's just because I think
it's more missed than
It's
hit.
definitely smaller.
someone
doses.
mentioned. Yeah, you think he mentioned that before. It's smaller doses, so you can withstand it.
But Guardians 1, it's just the comedy fit the situations.
Yeah.
We won't get into that, but I like the Quill thing. I didn't mind it. And I know a lot of people, I can understand why people don't like it, but once again, when you're in that situation, when you lose somebody, you're not yourself, man.
And
You're
the
really
whole
not.
scope of the movie, like, I don't care necessarily what he did. Like, I understand, like, he lost Gamora. Like, he was prepared to kill her, but he really couldn't quite bring himself to do it. And even when he tried to, it ended up not, like, working. So I guess in a way, it's almost like he feels responsible for the fact that she's dead now. Like, if he had only listened to her before, she'd be dead, but she wouldn't have been killed by Thanos, and he wouldn't have the Soul Stone.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't hate it, but I agree with Aaron saying that I think it could have been done a different way.
Thank you. Me and a couple of my friends we're talking about the movie after we all saw it, and they said the same thing. Like, I said Star-Lord and the whole Thor aspect were great, and they're like, oh, Chris Pratt's just the most charismatic person on the human planet, which I agreed with as well. But then he says, oh, but he killed the entire universe. So, but it's kind of like, I think Doctor Strange did see that. I think the way it's going to play out is that one reality where they do defeat Thanos, that had to happen. So in a way, Star-Lord saved the...
There's a lot of theories that say it's part of his greater plan. He's going to have something to do with Captain Marvel in the next movie.
Like, Star-Lord had to do that. He had to give the time stone to Thanos in order for the bigger picture to play out.
Well, what did you guys think about the moment when Thanos gets to Wakanda? He's got 5 of the Infinity Stones. He's basically just mowing through the remaining Avengers.
I loved it. It's exactly what I expected. I remember, I think I said to Manny before we saw the movie, if I wasn't like devastated after this movie, I was going to be upset. Like if Thanos, which I was sure he wasn't, if he died at the end of this movie, I was going to be disappointed. For a character they've been building up for 10 years, I wanted something awful to happen. Like I wanted him to win.
That text at the end of the movie, Thanos will return.
He had to win to make this movie right. Like there's no other way about it. Like if they would have destroyed the soul, we never got to see Thanos with all the stones in the Infinity Gauntlet. It kind of would have felt underwhelming to me.
Another his embrace with Scarlet Witch too. That awkward embrace where he kind of rubs her head. It's like, oh, I know how you feel, my child. Another one of those moments. And when Thor throws Stormbreaker at him and gets him in the chest, and that's going to be one of the most iconic lines of the movie. You should have went for the head. Snaps his finger. And that next scene, that's why I said in my review that they brought an element of surrealism in this movie, where it's scenes that are very ambiguous. You don't really know if that happened, if that's a vision, if he was transported there, if he was out of time, in time.
It seems like, because he didn't have the gauntlet.
Right.
So it seems like he wasn't. It must have been some kind, I don't know.
The soul dimension.
Yeah, it was a different dimension of some sort.
Maybe it was the soul dimension. That's why you saw Gamora.
And it also shows like the whole time when he's mowing down the Avengers, he's not going for the kill. He just cares about, he's focused on one thing, and they'll brush them aside. And
because at that point he knows he's not losing.
Yeah.
Unless Thor has a super magical weapon.
His face when Cap grabs his hand.
Oh, he was like...
When they put that in a trailer, I saw so many memes, and it's like Cap is essentially the baby, and it's like when the baby grabs your hand and doesn't want you to like touch it or something. He literally looked at him, and he was like, huh?
There were so many theories about, why is Cap holding back his hand? How is he doing that? He wasn't. Thanos was barely pushing him, and he was like about to break off his fucking arms.
He was like entertaining it. He was like,
oh, he's strong.
I think he was like, you know, he kind of admired his courage, because once he comes in, Captain America runs right at him. Like,
yeah,
like, oh,
he straight up just threw Hulkbuster into the rocks.
Yeah.
He snaps his fingers and the glove is fried and everything, and he goes and he sees Gamora as a child. The movie is like silent. Like I was surprised by like people are just fading away into dust. There's no music. It's silent, and then it ends.
You don't hear the music until Thanos is on the farm, which is again taken from the Infinity Gauntlet comic. They use it a little bit differently here. To me, that's just I love that ending.
Yeah, that was
him just sitting on the porch of his farm, and he's probably got like fucking sheep in the back. And
when everyone started disappearing, like, whoa, what?
Well, what do you guys think about that? Because people are saying, well, everybody who disappeared is probably safe.
Well, yeah, I'm saying like everything's going to be undone next movie. So, but it's cool to see like Thanos won. But
don't you think there are going to be implications of what he did, where it's not going to be that Thanos won totally, but Thanos did something where we're damaged? Like this is permanent.
The people who come back might not come back the same.
Maybe not.
Because like they're dead.
I mean, obviously, like Spider-Man and Black Panther are 100% shoo-in coming back.
Yes.
Because for the MCU, especially if you lose Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr., those are the next two. Those are your two biggest stars moving forward, and the movies that'll probably make the most money for your franchise.
It was crazy to see though. In the moment, it was like,
I was convinced,
holy shit.
Because going in, you're like, oh, Loki's probably
die.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, Loki's gonna die. You know, Idris Elba, he's over this. He's too good of an actor to keep this small role, so he's gonna die. And you can kind of like pick and choose, like, oh, War Machine maybe, things like that, and maybe even Iron Man or Captain America, but you never, just from a logical reason, thinking about the business that is making these massive movies, like, oh, they're not going to kill Spider-Man after one movie, Black Panther's not going to die after one movie, and yeah.
I feel like that's also... I feel like maybe not so much for Black Panther, because that movie only did well recently, and they were finished filming the movie, at least part one before that. But I feel like because everyone was so certain that these characters weren't going to die, they were like, let's kill them.
I have a theory too. Well, what do you guys think is going to happen in the next movie? I mean, just to wildly speculate, because it's so hard to say.
I think Captain Marvel is going to be the Adam Warlock character. she's going to take that whole role. I think because I hear Ant-Man and the Wasp is supposed to be, and Captain Marvel as well, is supposed to tie in heavily to the next Avengers. So it's interesting. I think because it says that Ant-Man and Hawkeye took a deal.
Right.
I think they mentioned that in the
They're
movie.
on house arrest.
Yeah, so I think that means that they're going back to get Captain Marvel. And yeah, I think she's going to be the savior, rocking the Infinity Gauntlet or something like that.
It would make sense to say that Ant-Man and maybe Hawkeye, they go back in time, they find Captain Marvel, that they don't bring her back because they don't know about like the Thanos level threat that's showing up. So if like they just leave her there and they're like, hey, we might need you in the future, and she's just like, okay, and they give her the pager. And it's a pager because in the 90s, like,
Well,
they
Samuel
can't give
Jackson
her.
is going to be in that movie, Captain Marvel. And he's going to be a younger version of himself. So he knows that she's out there.
Which makes me wonder, where is she in the present day? But
Right. Well, I to go to all the characters that die, I feel like this is my personal theory that if you survived the phase out, the whatever was happening to them, that you're more in trouble than the people who actually died. Because I think to wrap it all up, have a grand finale for this first season, Avengers 4 is going to focus on the OG Avengers, the characters that started this universe or that started this journey with Thanos. And they're going to have to sacrifice themselves to set things right for the universe that's going to continue for the next 10 to 15 years.
Pretty much all the...
Because the guys who died, I mean, Spider-Man and Black Panther specifically, and Doctor Strange,
Star-Lord.
those are your four faces of the universe.
Almost all the Guardians are gone, I think.
Except
Rocket is
yeah,
the last one.
left.
Nebula and Iron Man, weird pairing.
Which I would love to see, that would be a real funky group of Avengers, where it's the OGs, but then Rocket,
And
War Machine, and
Okoye.
Nebula. Yeah, and Okoye. That's like a really strange group. If they had to go on an adventure where it's a much smaller movie in Avengers 4.
Also, the what's the other guys? The guy who says, of course, brother when Black Panther.
Baku?
Yeah, Baku. He's
Oh,
alive
yeah,
too.
he's still there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, he's going to try and take the
Wong?
throne. Wong, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like a 8 to 9 man roster at Avengers 4, including Ant-Man and Hawkeye. Them trying to get Captain Marvel, and it's going to be a smaller movie in Avengers 4. But even though the Russo brothers have confirmed that it's going to be longer.
And the reason they haven't revealed the I guess the subtitle for it yet is because apparently it's gonna like break us. Like it's supposed to be a major spoiler.
What do you have any ideas?
I have no ideas. No.
I've heard Secret Invasion,
How's
which
that
is
a spoiler?
All the Avengers
because
die.
then that means that some of the Avengers are Skrulls, or some of the
But I
characters
think it
could
would be
Skrulls.
real weird if they
Oh.
introduced that now.
The fuck is a scroll?
Captain Marvel is basically going to focus on the Kree Skrull War.
Okay.
The Skrulls are basically a shape-shifting race of aliens.
Oh, yeah.
It's a comic.
Yeah, isn't that
Yeah,
the guy
I
who
was
has,
thinking-
like, all the Fantastic Four's powers, like Super Skrull or whatever?
Yeah, yeah. I've heard Secret Invasion. I've heard Secret Wars.
Ooh.
That they didn't die, that they were transported to go fight in the Secret Wars.
I heard of
Battleworld?
Avengers X-Men War. That's a spoiler.
What if they
That would
reboot the
be
universe at the end
stupid.
and that's how they bring them in?
Oh, what about Avengers? Half the team died in the last movie, so here's 4. That would be a spoiler if you didn't
I
see
kinda
this one.
said that.
Some people said Avengers disassembled too.
No, you didn't.
Well, I think you could sacrifice those main guys, especially now since you have the Fox characters coming over. So you have the future of your universe with Black Panther and Spider-Man. Black Panther's the face of the goddamn universe now because his solo movie made Avengers money.
Yeah.
So you don't need Iron Man. You don't need these guys anymore.
Spider-Man, Black Panther, Thor.
Well, I think Thor could die as well too.
Old Thor, yeah, he can die. New
There's
Thor.
precedent of different characters taking up the Thor mantle.
I hope Captain
Similar
America.
to Captain America.
Before he dies, he needs to take up. Well, I guess it's Stormbreaker now. Do you have to be worthy to pick up Stormbreaker?
I think.
assuming
Well,
so.
Thor said that you need to have incredible power.
I hope
I
Captain.
don't think that was like a curse that Odin put on it.
Oh,
So
well, I hope Captain America picks it up
if he
though.
picks it up, he'll die. Like Rocket said, he's makes me want to pick it up more now.
Well, we didn't get Captain America holding Mjolnir, unless when they go back he does. That would be dope.
Oh man, that's how he
I
dies.
just need to see him shield and hammer in hand running at Thanos. I don't care if he just gets fucking
That would be
shot in the
dope.
fucking face. I don't care, but as long as I get to see it happen.
All right, so we'll go to full scores. We're gonna put a number on it. We're gonna quantify it because that's what we do. Aaron, we'll start with you.
It's quite the experience, man. I remember I was shooken up after leaving the theater for a little bit, and the Jets.
Were you thinking about it all night?
Yeah,
'Cause
well,
I couldn't sleep.
I was thinking about that, and the Jets got Sam Darnold too. So my mind was fucking was mush. I was like, yeah, don't let the fact that Thanos destroyed half the universe make you forget that the Jets drafted Sam Darnold number 3 overall and have their franchise quarterback. But score, it's I gotta give it like a 9.5, something like that. It was I loved
Wow.
it. Yeah.
Nice.
It was-
Favorite Marvel movie?
I hate putting scores on things because I got to look back like, oh, what did I give
Well,
Winter
you're the score
Soldier?
guy.
Yeah, I'm a big score guy. I'll give it a 9.2. I really like the movie. There was a couple things I had a problem with it, like the same thing what you said. It felt a little too congested at times. Some of the pacing was off, and some of the things the characters did I didn't 100% agree with. But when a movie's this scale and I've been waiting for 10 years and all this great stuff happened, it's hard for me to like nitpick it like I would do with some other movie. I love to nitpick Marvel movies, you know that. It's between this and Winter Soldier though. It's shot to the top. It's definitely top 2 or 3 for me.
Marissa?
After I saw this movie for the first time, I got back to my dorm at like 4 a.m. and I had to go to work in 4 hours, and I woke up in 4 hours and I was like, oh my God, everyone's dead. I was like sad for the rest of the day. I want to say, I don't think it's perfect by any means. Either 8 or a 9. I can't decide. Like
You could go decimal.
Like an
We'll-
8.7. I would
okay.
go 8.7.
Manny?
I'm thinking a strong 8 to light 9.
So you're not going to decimal it?
Say
No.
say 8.5.
What are you, pitchfork?
I don't know, man.
Say 8.5.
All right, 8.6.
Okay.
No, strong 8's got to be 8.8. You can't qualify a strong 8.
But it's a weak 9.
6.
I don't like rating things either.
A
man.
weak 9? What's a weak 9? 8.9? I'm blowing my mind right now. I'm so confused.
It's weird because I do have a lot of like. It's not perfect like you said, but I just
It's like the scope of the movie. Like we haven't watched
What-
anything like
what
this
they were
before.
what they were able to do in that little amount of time and still develop such a great villain like Thanos was in a limited amount of time because it's not solely focused on Thanos. Like in a Dark Knight, you had half Joker, half Batman. This Thanos probably had a third when it's all said and done.
Well, when I was watching The Dark Knight for the first time and it would go to Batman, I kind of got upset. I was like, I kind of want to see Joker. I want to see what he's doing. And I felt the same thing with this movie. I wanted to see Thanos more than I wanted to see the Avengers.
And I think it's a good decision that they decided to focus on Thanos rather than trying to make sure all of the millions of superheroes in the movie like got some screen time or stories or anything.
Right.
I think if they had gone that direction, the movie would have been a bust.
You couldn't do it.
It was like it's impossible
It's
to
also
do that.
because we've seen all of them a bunch of times at this point. And
Well, I've heard one of the criticisms is that this movie can't exist without the other 18 before.
Is that a criticism though, or is it just
Well, I
watch
don't
the
think they're
fucking movies?
Right. I don't think they're movies anymore.
Well, a lot
It's-
of critics are like saying that. Like, it's a big critic thing because they're not into the Marvel universe and they criticize it for that. But like, all right,
I do
I
think there are a
remember
lot
you said
of
that
moments.
about the first Avengers.
I feel like it's
the
just
first time
la-
you saw
I
it.
feel like that's just lazy though. If you don't see the other movies and say that this one's too congested,
Right,
that's
but I don't
lazy.
think it's an argument that can be dismissed because I remember when Marissa saw the first Avengers, her complaint was that it didn't have character development. And my argument was, well, each character's had a 2-hour movie.
I mean, when I saw the first Avengers,
there's both sides to it.
yeah, like after I think I told you that, like obviously I went back, me and Manny watched all of the movies that led up to it, and then I loved the Avengers when I rewatched it. So it's just something like you have to watch all the movies. It's just
I think it's almost like complaining about Battle of the Bastards, and that's the only episode you've ever seen. Like, say that's the first Game of Thrones episode you've ever seen. Where was the character development for Jon Snow?
Yeah, it's like
It's like
you're saying-
complaining about
it's
a
like,
season
there's
finale.
no character development. You're like you can complain about there's no character development, but there is.
Yeah,
Just not in this movie. Like it's
There
it's
is-
it's TV.
it's a culmination.
Yeah,
there is an argument, like you said, to be made though. Like if you want it to be accessible to people who haven't seen all the movies, that's pretty hard to do. But like I feel like
and also the counter to that is, well, this movie just made $1 bajillion at the box office.
yeah, like people
so
are going to see the movie. Like I know a
Right.
ton of
You
people
can-
who went to see it and hadn't been actively
you
keeping
can
up.
watch this.
Like,
Yeah,
Oh,
oh, that's the bad
definitely.
guy. These are the good guys. Oh, it's Iron Man, Captain America.
I mean,
I
like,
kind of know these guys.
Thor summed up Ragnarok in like 2
Yeah.
sentences.
and the Infinity Stones, that's exposition that was handled well. So these are the Infinity Stones. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are people who have seen every Marvel movie that don't remember Red Skull.
Oh,
They don't remember that the Tesseract
Honestly,
was
the
in.
first time I saw it, I was like, I didn't think he was Red Skull right away. For some reason, I
Yeah, me
keep
too.
thinking Darth Maul every single time I see him.
I clapped when I saw it. So.
This is a movie I never clap, but like I wanted to clap a couple times.
I've never cried during a Marvel movie, and I'm a notorious crier. I don't know why I'm going back to this. But when Scarlet Witch had to kill Vision, I felt a tear almost. It didn't come out, but I was like, I feel bad.
that
Maybe
was
'cause I
an
just
emotional moment. Like I liked that. Like they've been developing that relationship throughout the movie up until that point, and I was glad it paid off in
Yeah.
the end. Because originally, like I said before, I didn't understand why they were getting so much time. But the payoff in the end, I think, ultimately was worth it.
Yeah, besides Thanos and Gamora, Thor, it was great to see him in a leading role in an Avengers movie. It was very much him and Thanos shared the movie.
Yeah, I think it's weird too when you see the supporting characters like, oh, isn't Captain America and Black Panther supposed to be a big part, and their characters felt kind of hollow in this. If you look at
But
it,
I'm glad they did.
Yeah, if you look at it, yeah, what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
But when you look at it like in this one movie, you can kind of feel like some of the characters like, oh, well, that's kind of hollow. Like, well, we didn't get anything out of that. It chose to focus on different characters, which when you watch the other movies, it's kind of like, oh, well, that kind of makes sense. You can't really fit all their certain motivations and what should be going through their mind in the movie. So I don't hold that against it too much, but it was a little off for me, but I still loved it.
Okay, so my score, 9 out of 10. I would say it's so hard for me with the Marvel movies. I'm constantly going back and forth.
Especially just because this one is so different.
It's hard to compare any movies to, and like it's so different.
Well, if you compare this to a Winter Soldier, they're two completely different movies.
Yeah,
Like,
my 3 favorite Winter Soldier. I still think Black Panther's the best. I don't think this is better than Black Panther. I would go Black Panther, Winter Soldier, and then this one.
close for my 3. My top 3 right now off the cup: Winter Soldier, Infinity War, Guardians.
You guys want to do your top 3s?
I mean, I love Spider-Man, so
I fucking love Spider-Man. It's probably number 4 for me.
I wouldn't say Spider-Man's my top. I would say Winter Soldier is definitely somewhere in my top 5. I can't even tell you what's number 1 right now, but Black Panther's in there, Homecoming's in there, Civil War, Winter Soldier, and this one.
I'm going Iron Man 2, Guardians 2, and Thor 2.
See you next year, folks.
All right, on to Shrek the Third.